Hey everybody, welcome once again to my humble abode here on my Vault Hunters single-player world. This little place has served me quite well. I'm really more of a functionalist first and a aesthetics next kind of person, but I've been getting some comments. Some comments from real-life friends saying, "You look like a noob. Your place looks like that of a noob, and you need to do better." No, it wasn't quite that harsh, but that's the sad reality of it. Yeah, this plain stone is just something that a noob would build. And at level 50 plus, I am anything but a noob anymore. So I need to spend a little time making this little hovel into a home. Now I've had a few statues that gave me non-vanilla blocks. Sometimes I just throw them straight into the cauldron over there, but sometimes I keep them. Like this clinker brick block. I kind of like the look of this. So I'm challenging myself to use up these non-vanilla blocks that I've gotten from statues over time into something that makes this all look a little better. We've got some of this green Midori block, a whole bunch of these grayish blocks of various kinds, and this clinker brick. I like the brightness of the bricks in this clinker brick, so I'm going to try to use those as a highlight. And probably all of this gray will be on the floor somehow, in some kind of random pattern. I've also got some quartz, which will make a nice offset. I may go completely out on a limb and do something totally different, but that's my plan for right now, and I want to come back and make it be a surprise. So let's pop down in the mines, and next time we come back, it'll be all better. But stuff has changed. The water elevator no longer works. That's because we have a real elevator now. Elevator blocks are really cool, and you can travel a long ways even through solid stone. I happened to get 4 of them from the old West rooms. It was kind of an Easter egg thing, but they patched that in the 1.13 set, and you can't get them anymore. In all those vault runs leading up to level 50, I was really hoping to find an old West room so that I could get some more of these before it went away. It looks like I might actually have to take the mod now, which beforehand nobody would do. Well, because you could get them for free from the vaults. But anyway, let's see where this goes. Boom, here we go in the room that has been completely redesigned. I am really, really proud of this, honestly. I really like the metal and all the different gray variations for the floor. It looks very industrial, along with the dark gray and stuff for the sides. Let's start down here. I closed this side off and brought the drawers all the way around. I've got a lot of room now, and I was really surprised. I know this drawer controller has a limit, and I wasn't really sure where it was, but it'll reach all the way over here. So that's cool. I also lowered the floor throughout the entire space by a block. I felt it was just a little too cramped for the ceiling that I wanted anyway. And speaking of ceiling, yeah, all kinds of different variations of textures and heights. I think it looks really good. I think this clinker brick really sets off in the industrial, really kind of makes it, you know? So down over here, I've got a whole bunch of little pedestals for all of the Omega statues. Yeah, I plan to have a whole bunch, and one of these days I plan to even have more than this, but this will give me some good growing space right now. Over here is where all the rest of the statues go, each with their own little chest underneath, waiting for them to poop their last poop out. I moved these chests back into the wall. I felt like spruce really worked better with this color palette than the dark oak that was here. And pretty much I put everything else into the floor. There's the catalyst, there's the cauldron. I also hid some blast furnaces over here for smelting down vault gear. It blends right in with the top texture of the blast furnace, doesn't it? And yeah, I think this area just looks amazing. Now I moved the nether portal over a block, which now is completely blocking my tunnels leading down to the mine, so I had to use the elevator blocks. And speaking of elevator blocks, I've got this one highlighted with a lamp. That's just a little floor lamp. It's really cool. I like these little floor lamps. But what's also really cool is you can disguise. You can disguise the elevator block with whatever block you want. So that's why I highlighted that one with the light, so I'll know where it is. So yeah, this took a long, long time. I'm really a very organic builder. I don't do very well with planning out ahead. I just kind of work with it until I get where I want. And so that's what happened here. I'm really proud of it. I think it looks great. But you tell me, what do you think? Yep, I actually asked, and I actually care. So if you have any suggestions about what to do in here, please let me know. Oh, one more thing that's really cool is these lights. Yeah, this gray right here is a light, just like that block up there is a light. It's the exact same light, just colored gray. It looks great in this variegated pattern, you know? Because the floor was a little far away from all of this light, I had some dark spots right here underneath these arches. And yeah, well, I probably would have been safe from spawns because of the mega torch that I've got on top of the mountain, but I really like the way this turned out, and I feel like this is the best way to go. And lastly, I've got this nice greenish walkway going from the doors all the way through to the rest of it. And yeah, well, this is all stone. I didn't do anything with this back here, and the villager area is completely untouched. I only had so much energy, and you know, well, we'll get to it another day, I think, maybe. I also put together an automatic potion brewer, and I had some real problems with this. It didn't want to work for a long time, and I rebuilt it a block lower. It still didn't want to work, but then finally it started working, and I don't want to touch it at this point now. So this is going to stay right where it's at. Now, the little area off to the side that was my potion room with the netherwort growing, yeah, I'm really struggling with this room. I wanted to make it like a little bedroom, but it's just really small, and it's right here next to the stairs. So I think I'm going to have to just do something very drastically different. And again, I'll come back to this another time. It's time for another Omega statue. I've got a few deadies right here ready to go in, so it's time to get another Omega. Boom, there we go. And now it's time to go out and see what kind of goodies we get to choose from. And yeah, I haven't done anything with the front either. I think I'll probably just take this whole hillside away and make like an actual front to the building. But, you know, that's another day. Anyway, time to see what we got. We have metamorphic mesostone, dirt, limestone, and myelite. I'm disappointed. I've already got dirt. I don't need these other things. And I've got a lot of dirt. But, you know, I guess. So there we go. We got Gwuku, or whatever his name is, pooping out some more dirt. Not gonna lie, I was hoping for something better. But you got to take what you can get, don't you? Now, of course, we're going to do a drawing again. So leave a comment below, make sure to include your Minecraft username, and I'll enter you in the drawing, and we'll rename the statue to be you. And you could be sitting there next to Swarmy and John Hank. And by the way, John Hank, I still need your YouTube name. I hope you all enjoy this. I think it's kind of fun. I know I sure enjoy seeing all of these people looking over me as I play the game. So thanks, and leave a comment below. Now, in between episodes, I've been running quite a few vaults. I think I've done 4 or 5 at least. And I've been doing a pretty good job of getting used to the new difficulties of level 50. I've even killed the boss a few more times. But I've decided that my sword, my vault sword that I've been using for quite a while, isn't very good. So I crafted up 4 more vault swords, and then I found one on one of the runs. So let's roll these up, and let's hope that I get something better than the vault sword I'm currently using. Okay. Oh, 9.4. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty good boost. 10.26, a rare. Wow. Yeah, that is really good. I am so glad that I did this. This is one that I made, apparently, although it doesn't say it. This is really great. I mean, that is 1.5 points of damage per swing, better than the other sword. So absolutely, this is going to be a good one. That was a good choice to make these. Now, many moons ago, I got a statue that gave me vault dust, and I was able to craft a lot of this up into vault nuggets and then vault ingots, and that's how I made all this gear. For the next part, I'm going to need a bunch of beniatite. And oh, what do you think of this texture pack? Yeah, I'm using a texture pack that makes all the vault ores much more visible, and honestly, I really think it helps out in the vaults. I'll link that in the description down below. But anyway, I got my super fortune pick, and it's time for some gratuitous vein mining. Oh yeah, that looks beautiful. I've been grinding away because it's time to make some more knowledge stars and try to unlock some more mods. Ah, that's kind of sad. I only need like a few more star essence to make that 4th knowledge star. But it's enough. It's enough for what I want to do right now. Actually, I only need 3 because create is next on my list of mods to get. I really want to go for Botania, but wow, at 12, that's a long way off. And fortunately, at this point, if I take create, that's not going to affect Botania at all right now. So that's great. But I want the create mod because there are so many great farms that can be made with it, more than we can even begin to touch in this episode. So 1, 2, 3, and well, yeah, let's go ahead and use that fourth one up. And now we can take create as the next mod researched. The main thing I want create for is for sand and clay, and the farms like that, using a grinding wheel. That's what I want to focus on today, but there are so many good things that we can do with it, and we'll have to tackle those in some future episodes. Clay is one thing that I just don't have that much of, and you don't find it that often in the vaults either. 123? Yeah, that's not going to be enough for my next vault crystal whenever that happens to come around. And speaking of vault crystals, let me show you this trick real quick. You know how the vault altar likes to just suck everything up? Makes it really easy to get everything from these drawers. So that 2800 end stone right over there, well, I have enough of it right here. So what I like to do is I like to get something other than what the vault altar wants, fill up my inventory with it, and then sit here and click out as many of these things as possible. It makes a giant snake across the room, all being sucked toward the vault altar. But it's pretty fun, and it makes it pretty easy. A whole lot easier than putting it into my inventory and then throwing it back out again and again and again. And there we go. I just got to pick up the excess and put it back in. Easy peasy. Now, I've never used Create before in any mod pack that I've actually played. I'm familiar with it from some of the videos and some of my friends on Season of the Noob, but I haven't used it myself, so this will be a lot of fun. And honestly, being able to play on different mod packs is one of the things that makes Vault Hunters really great, because you can just pick and choose the mods that you want to try to use. If you look at the tooltip of any of the Create items, they have this press W to ponder item, which I found very interesting. I'd never seen that before. So, pressing and holding W comes up with this really neat interactive display, showing you how to use the item and what it can be used for. This is really amazing. This is one of the best things that I've ever seen a mod do, and honestly, I think Minecraft could learn an awful lot from it in the vanilla sense. Now, unlike Refined Storage and probably most mods in the pack, Create doesn't use power. Instead, it uses stress units, which is, I think, analogous for torque, but, I'm not really much of a physicist. Anyway, stress units are generated by things turning. Think water wheels and windmills. And those things that turn have a certain capacity to turn other things. And those turning things turn cogs and shafts and belts and turn other things in order to make the machines work. But just like a real machine, when you have too many things all connected to the same system, the original motor, or windmill or water wheel or whatever is causing the rotation, gets to a point where it can't handle it. And so those are stress units. Now, all of those things that can provide that rotational energy, or stress units, in this mod pack are pretty expensive and require a POG. You've got the furnace engine, which basically attaches to an existing furnace and burns things in order to provide that rotational force. You've got the water wheel, which uses flowing water to provide it, and you've got windmills that are built around a windmill bearing. All of these things are about the same cost, roughly, in terms of POGs and opals, but if you look at the windmill, it can produce a large amount of stress capacity, along with the furnace engine, can produce a large amount. The water wheel can only produce a small amount, and it's arguably more expensive. Now, we all know my aversion to doing things that need ongoing maintenance, and so the furnace engine seems like something that's not good to me either. So I feel the windmill is the best way to go. It just turns and turns and turns, and you don't have to do anything at all to it. The bigger you make the windmill, the faster it turns. Honestly, these sails and sail frames aren't really expensive, so I plan to make the biggest windmill I can. And then what's the point of making a windmill? Well, it's to use crushing wheels, which are not terribly expensive, to crush things down. And if you look at this, there are 100 pages of recipes of things that will be crushed down. You can crush down regular ores into their things. Many of the other modded ores can be crushed down into components that can be further processed, leading to a higher yield than fortuning sometimes. I think the thing that I'm after the most is gravel, getting crushed into sand, flint, and clay. You don't get very much out of it, but you put enough gravel through and you'll get a bunch after overall. And gravel can be made by crushing cobblestones, and a cobblestone generator is really easy to make. So by simply crushing down cobblestone and its resulting parts, we can generate a lot of things that the old vault altar will want. This is probably the simplest and most basic thing that Create can do. There's so much more, but that's all we're going to have time for today, I think. But a windmill needs a large area to turn. And I'm not sure that I want to have a big windmill on the front of my house here. And even then, I'm not sure I have any room in here for any of the machines. I certainly don't want them in this room. So I've done a little excavating out the back end here of the mountain that I've been in. And there's a pretty good little cliff face here that would be perfect for hanging a windmill out of the back of. And then I can hollow out a bigger area here to house the Create machinery that I'm going to build. So that's the next step. I got a little bit of digging to do. I'll come back when I've got that done. And honestly, the excavation here is really well suited for using the hammer paxel. It just goes. I got to be a little careful. It might go too much. Such a good job. We'll have this area cleared out in no time at all. And one giant room later, here we go. It's a nice cleaned out room. I actually ran into the area where I have my farms upstairs. But anyway, this is a pretty decent space, pretty high ceiling, and I went ahead and did the floors going all the way connecting down this green hallway. And I tried out these green lights too. You know, we got the gray lights everywhere, including right here still. These green lights really stand out. I'm not sure I like them that much, but you know, I'll keep them here for now. Obviously, the walls around here are not done, and I think I'm not going to do it for now. I wanted to at least get the floor in before starting any builds, though. First order of business is making this windmill bearing. This is the heart of the windmill, and you attach a bunch of stuff to it to make it bigger and better and faster, but regardless, you still need this bearing, and it's expensive, with a pog and a couple black opals. I don't have any more pogs, but fortunately I do have some of the player gems to break down, so now let's go do that, I suppose. I'm doing pretty good on all of these player gems, quite honestly. Puffium is my weakest, and I've got 4 of those, so I feel pretty confident about it. But all things considered, yeah, I'm doing pretty darn good. So, 4 Puffium. Let's hope we get something good. Doesn't look great. Only 9. But that's enough for a pog or 2, at least. And there we have it. The windmill bearing is done. And I still got 2 pogs for other things. I have a feeling I'm going to need those somewhere along the way, too. There's actually a whole bunch of stuff that I need to make, and I don't really think that it's important that I go over every bit of it. Let's just say there's a pretty big build tree around any of these bigger mod packs like Create. I know I'm going to have to make a whole bunch of stuff, so I'm just going to come back a little later once I get the windmill going. So here we are on the back side of the mountain. I built this little channel in order to house the windmill bearing and get it away from the mountain a little bit so that it's free to turn as we look out over this swamp. So I'm going to put the bearing down here, and it just always wants to place it that way, which is weird. So I need to use the wrench, there we go, to turn it around facing the right way. The greenish stuff on the outside is glue, and we can stick anything to it. So I'm going to stick a piece of wool there because that's going to make it look kind of like a windmill. Now at this point, I can attach the sails to this block, and the more sails that you have, the faster it's going to turn. And I really like the way it gives you this visualization about where it's going to go. I want to make this windmill bigger and actually kind of be a little swoopy. I need to add these sails to all 4 sides, and honestly, that's going to be a bit difficult for that bottom side, but I'm going to work on it, and I'll come back when I've got a shape that's all nice and ready to go. There we go. I think that looks pretty darn good. Really gives it some motion, and this is, I think, the fastest that it can go. You can see we've got the really strong breeze, create a windmill of maximum strength. And thanks to the engineering goggles, I can see that this is running at 8,192 stress units. I've already got goggles, but when I put these on, they just go right on top of my head. They don't even line up with my eyes at all. It's like wearing goggles on top of goggles, and that's just kind of silly. But they are useful. Now the actual shape of the sail doesn't matter at all. It's all about how many pieces there are attached to it. But I do really like the shape and how it looks while it's spinning. Don't you? Now it's time to remove all the scaffolding and get back inside. Now from here, we need to hook up a whole bunch of these shafts to bring the rotation into the building where we can actually do something with it. And that's good enough for now. And then lastly, close it off with this iron plate so that it's all tight and no mobs are going to get in through this entrance. And now with some input coming in, it's time to actually make the machine. Well, I went and got a little carried away with the rebuilding and didn't get into a lot of recording. We really don't have that much time anyway. These are 2 of the most basic machines that I think you can make with Create. First is the crushing wheels as I wanted, and the other is an auto smelter. That's pretty fun looking, isn't it? Also, a little deadly. Ah, no, I'm burning. That cog right there, it leads directly to the windmill and is where all of the input energy comes from. These other cogs both multiply the RPMs and move it around to make it accessible to the other machines. So behind me are two grindstones spinning in opposite directions, and honestly, this isn't that intuitive to create. It took a little finagling, which is why I never recorded it. I would probably just end up looking like an idiot for a little bit. These things are basically like hoppers, except they don't have an inventory and can move more material faster, and they make sure and drop it straight through. If you were to use like a redstone dropper, they kind of get some randomization and go everywhere. No, these chutes go straight through. So by feeding something into the chest, it goes down into the chute and starts grinding in the grindstone. And it takes some time doing its grinding before falling into the chute and coming down into the chest. And you see that we've made 16 gravel. These grindstones will work at 16 items at a time, and it takes a few seconds for the grinding operation to complete. But overall, this is really fast. And feeding the gravel through once again yields sand and flint and sometimes clay. Remember, there are like 200 recipes for this, and you can grind a lot of different things. You might have seen some wool in the chest, because wool can be ground down into string, which is kind of neat. You can grind up horse armor and regular ores and all kinds of stuff. Most of the recipes are actually dealing with flowers to get dyes, so they're not that useful in Vault Hunters, but this is one of the few ways that you can actually get clay and flint from a renewable source. The other machine here will replace my furnace array and an auto smelter. Anything you put in this chest, like this sand, will get dropped out on the chute, and the fan behind that lava is cooking this stuff up. You'll see it turn to glass right about here and then get sucked up by the hopper. That was a whole stack of sand getting converted into glass in like that 30-second stretch. Yeah, so there's a fan behind this lava, and that bakes things and essentially does a smelting operation. I made these two machines to showcase some of the varying ways that Create can be used to make machines. There's a lot of them, and these two are some of the most basic ones, and at the present, they're very manual. Eventually, I want to get it hooked up to the rest of my system so that I can keep feeding stuff through the grinders pretty much all the time. This was a pretty busy episode. Got all that rebuilding done in the front room. It looks amazing. Got Create unlocked, Windmill made, and these two simple machines. It was a real grind. Pun intended. But that's it for now. Remember, be excellent to each other, and I'm out.